to Jake Jackets. Gear up to fire the cannon and hit the ice with your host, Jay Ashdown and Jake Gehringer.
Yesterday I just watched Survivor with my aunt and uncle.
Oh, Survivor.
You know. Survivor and dog, so it was an okay night.
Oh, dogs. Oh, Frank. Anyway. Yeah, dogs are still a hard topic for me. Sorry, everybody. I know I got a lot of closure from going to his spot, but
Good.
yeah. So we're officially in off-season mode now, thanks to the Cup.
Yes, and I think I appreciated that you gave me credit, even though I wasn't the one who like uncovered it. But last episode, the thing I mentioned about Boston,
and yeah, we're gonna talk about Baston. Yeah, because we were both debating on who's gonna be this guy, and you called it.
Yeah, because for a while it seemed like they were going after David Quinn, and I believed it. I thought that there was real smoke there. But because of how long that process took and the fact that he wasn't hired to that point, it felt like they were trying to pivot in another direction. And I think part of the reason they wanted to pivot in another direction is just because the public perception to David Quinn being hired, you can see it just through social media, how bad it was in Boston. And
we'll talk about it in a minute.
Yeah, I think, you know, they make a.
We'll talk about the actual hire.
They go to one of this team's assistant coaches.
Look at you! I just noticed that.
Yeah, say this. Jim Montgomery, and
we'll talk about Montgomery soon. But I want to start. Preseason schedules are getting rolled out.
Wow!
Like already. And
the draft hasn't even begun. That's kind of crazy. I can't remember the last time they did that.
What, when they released preseason pre-draft?
Yeah.
I mean, I get it with trying to condense back and then expand back.
Yeah.
Because everything is still more or less kind of squished.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And things are still starting later. Because free agency doesn't even start until like the 13th.
Right. So, I mean, that's still only 12 days back of when it usually starts, so it's not too crazy, but
we're getting there.
Yeah, like it's been kind of a shift for these last 2 years of, you know, the season ending in like August, September, whenever it ended with the bubble, to, you know, beginning in what was it, like freaking January or February?
Yeah, it was like early January.
And then, you know,
the 56 game year.
It's been so crazy.
It's well, that, you know, that's a contributing factor that a lot of people have talked about with the Lightning's runs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just how much hockey in a short amount of time that team has played.
It's strange. I see people online try to make jokes like, oh, COVID cups and stuff like that. I thought it was harder for them to win in those years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't understand, like, people trying to use that as an excuse. It's not like maybe the first cup, I understand the frustration around it, similar to the LA Lakers winning in the bubble, because you had 3-4 months to heal up, rest up, and, you know, there's no doubt about it that if every team's 100% healthy going in, the teams with the most talent, the teams that are the best, are going to win.
And the LTIR loophole stuff.
The LTIR, yeah. So I'll buy where people's frustrations come in there. But in terms of winning back-to-back Stanley Cups and going to a third straight final in the time frame that they did it in, it's crazy.
It's super impressive. Nuts. Super impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the preseason schedule for Columbus. Excuse me.
I'm sure we've got Pittsburgh twice.
We're starting with a split squad against Pittsburgh.
Okay.
September 25th, 1 p.m. is in Pittsburgh, and 7 p.m. is hosting Pittsburgh. That's the split squad.
Okay.
Wednesday, September 28th is hosting Buffalo.
Yeah, they usually play Buffalo.
Yeah.
They'll usually have a matchup against Detroit.
For whatever reason, which...
Well, you want to do like logistically, like what makes the most sense. You
I
want
guess
to keep it
geographically, sure.
Geographically, it makes the most sense for Columbus to play Pittsburgh a couple times, play Buffalo a couple times, play
Detroit obviously.
Yeah. Maybe, at least in terms of like when they were in the West, they continue to play Detroit,
was in
but
there.
they had Chicago, they had St. Louis. So I think that makes sense. Is there any besides those three teams that I mentioned?
So we got Pittsburgh split squad. We got Buffalo hosting.
Yep.
The next day, so we go from the 28th to the 29th. So this is going to be, packed. They're in St. Louis.
Yeah, they've played. Like I said, they St. Louis has been a part of that too. So I'm not totally surprised by that. See, I wore the hat today for a reason.
It's all coming together. Saturday, October 1st is hosting Washington.
Interesting. I can't remember the last time they played a preseason game against Washington.
I want to say 2 years ago.
Like before COVID?
Before COVID. I mean, either before COVID or the 1920 year.
Okay.
Or one of the last preseason games being.
Well, the 1920 year was before COVID.
I mean, it
was when I mean before COVID, I mean like the season in which before COVID was a thing.
I was gonna say 1920 was COVID.
Right. I refer to
that's
that
how
as,
I would.
I refer to that as before COVID because the majority
because
of the
2019 was yes.
Yeah, that's
totally fair. That's absolutely fair. Washington comes to town on the 1st. The 3rd, they go to Raleigh to play the Hurricanes.
Interesting.
That's a new one. Or newer.
Yeah. I can't remember them playing Carolina much in the preseason either,
but Carolina, and then Thursday they host St. Louis, October 6th.
Yep.
So there's the home game.
Right? Yeah, they've usually done some splits with St. Louis over the years. They usually do splits, I've noticed, with St. Louis, Buffalo, and Pittsburgh. So
yeah.
Are they doing a split with Buffalo?
No.
So it's just one game?
It's just the one game at home.
Okay.
Against Buffalo. And then they finish it off October 8th in Washington. And then the season starts on the 11th.
Interesting. So how many total games is that? Is that 8?
Let me count that up again. I'm sorry. I just closed it out. My brain is still trying to wake up. That's 2 with the split squad. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. 8.
Okay. All right. That makes sense.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to text my mom back too. There's a brand new Goo Goo Dolls song that just came out yesterday, and I sent it to her.
Nice.
And she was like, "I love his voice." And Resnick's got a great voice.
He does.
I've loved him ever since the theme he did for Jim Hawkins in Treasure Planet.
I'm not sure I've heard it, but
I'm Still Here. It's a great song.
Okay.
It's a really good song. That was actually the first time I ever heard of Resnick, and then I got into Goose a little bit later.
Right.
But yeah, so preseason, 8 games, usual suspects for the most part.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, we'll see where we're at with how camp starts. Do you think training camp's going to be back to the normal training camp size? Because I remember, what was it? 56, 2021. We had taxi squads, and we had what? It was X amount of forwards, X amount of defensemen, which was expanded, and then unlimited goalies. Right.
Yeah. I'm not as familiar with training camp because it's not something that I've followed intensely over the years. But I'd imagine that they're just going to go back to what was normal and let that be that.
So maybe like 5 goalies and.
Because I mean, I don't know how many more goalies you freaking need. I mean, if you're Columbus, like you're obviously going to have Elvis. You're going to have
Jonas.
You're going to have Jet Greaves.
You're going to have Tara.
Well, Tara's hurt.
Well,
so
right.
So you're not even.
When's he supposed to be back again?
Well, he's going to be out for probably half the season, I'd imagine.
Oh, this poor freaking kid.
So long-term surgery, like maybe he comes back a little bit earlier, but he's not going to be ready for training camp.
We're not going to have a Max miracle this time around.
What was the Max miracle?
The Max miracle. You don't remember that? He had
sorry. For some reason, when you said Max miracle, I was thinking goalie. So I was like, what does Curtis McElhinney have to do with it?
I do miss McElhinney. He'd be fun on the coaching staff.
Max Domi. I was at the freaking game that he returned.
You were at the game that
yeah. No, I there's no way that happens with Tara.
Man, that stinks.
So it'll be interesting to see, like, who 3 of those goalies are going to be, because they're not going to bring back Cam Johnson. It sounds like they're not bringing back Berube. I'm intrigued to see.
Feel bad for JF.
Yeah. So I'm intrigued to see, because I wouldn't be surprised for JF, like the realization of like he's not going to have a shot at the backup job. He's probably not going to have any chance at a backup job in the NHL. Like, I wonder if he goes overseas, maybe.
I mean,
make more money, be
he could, but then again, he's also, he's been an AHL journeyman through the majority of his career. And you mentioned this in an episode a couple of months ago. He could be the next Thiessen, right? He could just be the minor league backup.
Yeah.
Like the permanent minor league backup to like,
who eventually becomes the minor league goalie coach. And
yeah.
And don't get me wrong, like Brad Thiessen had a pretty decent pro career in terms of that. But for me, he's better than Thiessen ever was. So like there was never any hope that Brad Thiessen was going to be a backup goaltender in the National Hockey League. Strangely enough, I was there live to see his first NHL win against the Columbus Blue Jackets in 2012. But like,
that's right, because back then they were Colorado's affiliate still, right?
Yeah, so he was. So it was Penguins Blue Jackets. I went and I saw him in Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh won 4-2 over Columbus, and he was starting in place of Marc-Andre Fleury, who I think was hurt at the time.
That doesn't make any sense.
Why?
I just said they were Colorado's affiliate, Cleveland. Was he in?
So Lake Erie, Lake Erie was Colorado's affiliate, but he wasn't like a lifer in Cleveland.
Okay, so he was in.
He started his career in Pittsburgh.
Okay, I didn't know.
I want to say
I didn't know that
like
far
16
back.
or 17 in terms of being with Cleveland. I think he came after the Calder Cup run.
Gotcha. Okay.
So exciting times for him.
Yeah.
I think I want to say he had like maybe like 1, 2, or 3 NHL wins. Of course, I was there for one of them.
You had to have been.
But right? But like the difference between Brad Thiessen and JF Berube is that Berube like
has NHL level skill,
has an outside shot of maybe getting a backup job one day, whereas Brad Thiessen never really did. It was easier for Thiessen to stay in the American Hockey League and want to be that kind of mentor, whereas Berube wants to play.
Right. And I mean, if you've made your money, at a certain point, even in the minors level, right? You know what I'm trying to say?
I mean, it's not you're not stacking the dough in the minors, but
no, you're not making millions, or at the very least, 750,000.
Yeah, if you're on a two-way deal, maybe you're making 100,000, which still isn't bad, but that's why it's hard, is because a lot of guys don't want to just be a minor league player.
Right, of course.
If you're not good enough to play in the National Hockey League and make that money,
you still want to play pro somewhere.
You want to play pro where you're going to make some money, and that's why a lot of players go overseas, because you can go overseas and play consistently for $1 million. It's still that's a hell of a lot better than having a shot at playing in the National Hockey League, where you're on, like, say, a $750 contract, but that's $750 if you're in the NHL, and if you're in the AHL, you might be making like 100.
Right, it's like a lot lower. Anyway, yeah, preseason, we'll see what the roster looks like more towards, like, obviously mid-September, when we start getting into the groove of things again.
Yeah.
Season 2, I can't friggin' believe it.
Yeah, baby.
But Jarmo actually made a move the other day.
The St. Louis Twos.
The St. Louis Twos. Jarmo made a move a couple of days ago.
Yeah, he did.
Which, I mean, it's not the move we're all looking for, but it's a move.
Yeah, he definitely made a move.
So Columbus acquires Mathieu Olivier from Nashville in exchange for the first, or no, not even.
It was 122.
It's a fourth rounder.
So, I mean, I don't want to I don't know like a ton about Mathieu Olivier's game. Like, I know he's a big, gritty, tough, physical player, but at the end of the day, like, and I don't want to knock that style of hockey or suggest that it doesn't have importance.
Bottom six option,
it's hard for me to look
depth.
It's hard for me to look past giving up a fourth round pick for a 25-year-old forward who's got 3 career goals.
Yeah,
like the value just doesn't match for me. If you give up a 6th or 7th, like, sure, whatever. But 122, like, I feel like that's pretty steep for a player like that.
I think what they're expecting is more competition in the bottom 6.
Yeah, I'm not against that. It's just
because they also just signed Josh Dunn to an extension,
right? And they're trying to get as much depth there as possible and more competition, like you said. But again, you can get competition at free agency. You don't have to give up 122 to get competition.
I mean, I think Jarmo's thought process, and obviously I'm not in his head, right? He's trying to make it so, we compared what Jarmo's trying to do to what the Rangers are doing in terms of timeline.
How does this help the timeline?
Like at 3, because a shorter window, right? A shorter window to reopen.
Right. I'm just saying, like, I don't know how, like, this move doesn't move any needles for you.
I don't know why I'm trying to justify it as much.
I'm not saying it's not the end of the world.
No,
like, I'm not saying this 122 pick is going to be the next Johnny Gaudreau. Like, it's a Magic Beans pick, and it's a mid-round pick in the draft. So, like, there's a very good there's a chance that the player who the Rangers pick, ends up being a pretty solid player, a better player than Olivier, maybe the same player.
Preds, man.
Preds, yes. There's a chance that the Preds pick a player like that.
I think
there's a chance that they pick a player who doesn't play in the National Hockey League at all and has no impact. There's a chance that they trade that pick back and get more picks, or maybe they use that pick to trade up. Like, there's a whole bunch of things they can do with the pick. That doesn't matter. That's not our problem. That's not our worry anymore. I just, Mathieu Olivier, it's something against the guy. Like, he beat the shit out of that one dude I saw on Twitter. My buddy Jeff Middleton posted, which was hilarious because the jersey in that video that he was wearing was ridiculous. And B, like the blood going everywhere. It's like, oh my God, I haven't seen anybody do that in forever. But like I mean, like it's not like anything significant. Like I'm not pissed about the move. I just don't know how it moves any needles for this team.
So, okay, if that's the stance for Columbus, then right? Because I honestly, I've tried to make a justification for this. I was like, "Ooh, cool move." At least
it's just a move.
It's like, all right, there's a move that happened. I think it's more. I definitely see more benefit to this for Nashville because they ran into a bit of a squeeze, right? They had Olivier and Tanner Jeannot.
Yeah, I was good. Like they don't really need Olivier because Tanner.
And then Tanner Jeannot turned into
Like he'll beat the shit out of anybody. He'll fight anybody, but he'll also score goals, make plays.
He was a Calder finalist, dude. Well, not a final. He was in the running.
He's really good. Like he's an awesome player.
He's probably one of the most underrated rookies.
Yeah, I mean, he might be one of the more underrated players in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely a name to recognize and a name to keep an eye on. And that's why,
he's a piece you build around if you're Nashville.
Yeah.
Like he's not like a huge top end piece. But like he's a piece. Like he's a Boone Jenner that you keep on your team.
That's a really good comparison. I like that. Yeah, he's not like, I wouldn't say he's as much core as like Boone is for us, but he is part of like the top end of the supporting cast that you need, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that just made a guy like Olivier expendable.
Yeah, because Olivier doesn't do the other things that Jeannot does. So like, you don't really need what he does bring because you already have it. So that makes sense.
So,
you get a draft pick that you could do whatever with. You can pick a player with it. Like I said, you can trade that pick down and get more picks. You can use that pick to trade up. You
there's
do whatever you want with it. It doesn't matter to me. I don't really give a shit. But
that's up to David Poile.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe David's on the outs soon and needs because we've talked about David Poile plenty on this show.
Who knows? Maybe they pick a player with that, and Barry Trotz trades that player a year down the line.
So Jim Montgomery.
Yeah.
You called this, man.
Yeah, I was pretty confident that Jim Montgomery was going to be the coach in Boston.
He kind of came out of nowhere, though, like in the running. It was weird.
Because it felt like he wasn't really in a lot of runnings for this offseason. It kind of felt like this is a guy who's maybe going to get a chance at another job next year.
Different assistant job, maybe.
Well, I didn't think different assistant. I thought like you'd get a head coaching job next year.
Well, what I'm saying is like if the Blues weren't going to keep him, then maybe he could be an assistant somewhere else and then go for a head coaching job.
Well, I thought that they were going to keep him.
He could have. He did a good job.
Yeah. So, and Montgomery's only 53, so he's not super old.
A lot of really younger coaches getting shots recently. Paul Maurice getting a new fresh gig. Luke Richardson, Jim, right? A lot of the younger guys are getting a chance.
Yeah. So Jim Montgomery played from 1993 to 2005 in the National Hockey League before becoming an assistant coach at Notre Dame for a year, and then for 4 years at RPI. Then 3 years, he was the head coach of the Dubuque Fighting Saints in the USHL before moving on to be the head coach of the Denver Pioneers.
Oh.
And, he helped them win the NCHC tournament in 2014. They won the NCHC regular season in 2017, as well as winning the national championship that year. And then they won the conference again next year before he ended up taking the job in Dallas.
Got it. And then He
And his
coached.
first year in Dallas, he took them to the playoffs, 43, 32, and 7, 93 points. They're fourth in the Central. They ended up losing in the second round to St. Louis. That was Patrick Maroon's first cup run when he scored the overtime goal in Game 7. In 1920, he coached them for 31 games. They were 17, 11, and 3. But
I didn't realize he was that old. That's over 100 years ago.
What did I say?
In 1920. Just the way you said that. I'm trying, man. I'm trying. It's been a weird, like, checked out last few days.
You're fired. That's what the Stars did to Jim Montgomery, because he had some personal things going on.
This poor guy. I felt so bad when they let him go.
Yeah, I felt terrible for him, because it's a situation where, he was doing a good job in Dallas, but
he was doing great, and the team was doing just fine. And I mean, I applaud him for, going after his personal demons. And
yeah, he took it on the chin, and he said, you know what, this is an issue that I need to fix, and he took the time to himself to do it before returning to the NHL as an assistant. And
was that the year? Was that the same year that Bobby Ryan went through the same thing, or was that was Bobby was the same year? Okay,
I want to say Bobby was the same year.
So
no, Bobby was just coming off that year.
Bobby was coming back.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, we had another one. We had another couple recently with.
It was interesting because I remember. So I did a hockey.
So okay, let's be
my buddies at Canisius in 2019, and I remember that firing of Jim Montgomery came in lieu of so many other coaches being fired, because that was around the same time that Bill Peters got fired.
Oh my God, you're right.
Like there was like a whole bunch of coaches being fired.
Peters and Babs.
Yeah, so all that was coming out, and then Jim Montgomery gets fired, and everybody's like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" And then we find out that he's got a situation going on. So that was a crazy period before COVID that I think people forget about. That a bunch of coaches just got fired,
all for different reasons. Some
over a quarter of the league in that season before COVID even happened got fired from their job mid-season.
Man, and obviously, some are more. It's a Venn diagram, right? Like you have the Peters and the Babcocks.
Yeah,
where they're just shitty people.
Maybe personal problems on top of, professional in terms of results.
Right. You have the points where it's like they're just shitty people versus, okay, they're actually dealing with something.
Yeah.
Right. And there are a few like what Jim went through, and there's obviously, we talked about Bobby Ryan. Carey Price just went through it.
Yeah.
This year. There's and what was the one that I mentioned last show? Bob Murray, right?
Yeah, that
went through the same thing.
That obviously happened later on, but that was a big one. Because that came in the midst of the Blackhawks stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have these things that come out, and then some things, it's a little bit of a domino effect where, it's not to the same degree, but teams realize, we can't cover this up no matter how small we may think it is in the grand scheme of things.
Right.
People need to be held accountable. And if I can remember, and I'm not going to remember every single one off the top of my head, but that season was crazy because, like I said, before COVID even happened, DeBoer got fired by the Sharks before.
Right. Yeah.
Gallant got fired, and that's how DeBoer got there. John Hines got fired in New Jersey.
How many of these guys? Oh my God.
Who was Nashville's coach at the time, because he got fired and replaced by Hines?
Oh, that was
at the time.
I think it was Laviolette.
I think so. So I think Laviolette got fired. Obviously,
right, because he went to Washington, didn't he?
Jim Montgomery got fired.
Reardon got let go.
Yeah, it was a crazy season where we were like, Jesus, everybody, and Babs. So you had at least, like I said,
Obviously, you have the big fish.
Seattle wasn't in the league at the time. So with 8, I know for sure at least 8. That's over 25% of your coaches in the National Hockey League got fired midseason.
Oh my God.
That was a crazy season. But to get back to the topic of Jim Montgomery, I like him a lot as a coach. I'm really happy he got back on track.
Yes.
My question is, I like this guy as a coach. I think he's a good coach. But you and I define success differently than the city of Boston will.
Oh, yeah. Like, we're Columbus fans. Of course we do.
Yeah. And I think we're more reasonable in terms of success. But, and when you win so many
games, are you just turning the...
No, I it's not to turn the knife. They've won so many damn championships between the Patriots, Celtics, Red Sox, and Bruins that they deserve that. I understand that mentality. But to me, I think Montgomery to Boston will work in the sense that he'll be there for a pretty decent amount of time. He'll win them some games.
It's 3 years, right? His is 3 years.
Yeah. I think it's going to be viewed as a failure in the grand scheme of things because I don't think Boston's good enough to win a Stanley Cup under him. And if he doesn't bring a Stanley Cup, then everybody's going to view it as a failure because he's following in the shadows of Bruce Cassidy. So he's in a really tough spot here.
I do think a part of that too is the kind of team that he's coming into. He's coming into a Boston team where you have your staples in your lineup that are getting much older.
And guys that are hurt. Marchand's not going to be available to start the season.
Right.
McAvoy's not going to be available to start the season. You've got 2 good goalies, I think, in Ullmark and Swayman, one who's really young coming up this season. So you have to try and avoid the sophomore slump there. But Bergeron's coming back, but he's getting older.
He's getting older. Coyle's coming back and he's getting older.
Yeah. And he's just nowhere near worth the money.
We talked about Nick already last show.
Yeah, Nick, we don't know the situation with him. I can't imagine he's back on the Bruins next season. But I mean, who knows? They might bring back David Krejci, but again, David Krejci's
the Krejci thing, yeah.
Years old. So sure, he might help a little bit in the middle 6, but God, you can't expect this guy to just be 20.
I don't think I can't see Krejci as their second line center anymore. I know he's talented.
At the end of the day, that still doesn't solve their problem, which we've discussed many times. Is their problem is they don't have a number 2 center.
Right.
Charlie Coyle's not a number 2 center. Eric Hall is not a number 2 center. David Krejci at this point is not a number 2 center. So, your issue isn't third line center. Charlie Coyle can be a third line center. Absolutely.
Eric Hall can be a third line center.
Eric Hall can do that. Your problem is you don't have a number 2.
Right. You don't have a bona fide number 2.
You still don't know what the deal is with Pastrnak.
You still kind of up in the air with Jake. Maybe?
Yeah, you're still I think he's going to stay, and I think he's going to be fine in Boston now. But you don't know for 100% sure.
No, and things are still a little foggy with DeBrusk.
Yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty here, and I really do like Jim Montgomery. I think he's a good coach. But
the defense is a little more short up because you're going to have Grizzly. Eventually you're going to have Lindholm. You're going to yep. You've got most of your guys. The biggest worry is Charlie whenever he comes back.
You don't want to rush him back too much, but he's so valuable to them. This is an interesting offseason for the Boston Bruins. I'm really, really interested to see what they do now that they know that Montgomery's their coach. The biggest thing they need to do, in my opinion, is they need to figure out what the deal is with David Pastrnak long term.
Yep.
You gotta find a number 2 center.
Yes.
And who knows? Here's the thing, Jake. It could be incredibly unfortunate if the solution to the Pastrnak problem is he's not gonna stay here long term. We need to trade him. That might be your solution to finding a number 2 center, as well as other pieces that you can have.
It's funny because I saw a tweet that it was attributed to a former Bruin that had Jim Montgomery. So I think we all know who that is.
Yeah.
I think we all know who that is. It's Tyler Sagan giving the vote of confidence over there. Saying that the team's going to like him. I hope they do.
And I'll ask this later because I don't. funny, but I'll ask this later. Or might ask you this question later on, but I don't want to do it yet. Okay.
Okay. Just if I say anything that triggers that, then cool.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, the Bees getting Montgomery. I like it. I still think it was a little more just kind of like, whoa, he came at like,
Yeah.
it's like a horse race.
Yeah, and like I said, like I like this move, but I worry about it. I like this move because I like Jim Montgomery, and I think he's a good coach. What I worry about is the ungodly high expectations of Boston Bruins fans. He's going into
the fan base is definitely one to
the fan base is going to hold him rightly or wrongly, I believe wrongly, to the
championship caliber.
They're going to hold him to the standards. If he doesn't do things the way Bruce Cassidy does, he's going to get killed by them.
Well, this is a team that also hasn't won a Stanley Cup since 2011. Sure, they went to a final in 2019, but 2019 is getting further and further away.
Yeah, they're not that team anymore. They're just not.
No.
So many pieces of that team are gone.
And
Chara's gone.
There's so many. Gone. There are a lot of loud fan bases, and I don't want to throw like individual fans that I know under the bus or whatever, but in terms of overall fan bases, Bruins fans, Penguins fans, Rangers fans,
yeah,
those are probably and Habs fans are huge ones.
Fans.
I mean, yes.
Yes.
I think yes.
Like we said, we're not throwing anybody under the bus. We're
Blackhawks fans.
Every fan base has good fans.
But every fan base has fantastic fans. But when you have those cores of fans that are so like, I get it. We all want championships. That's what fandom is. But when your expectations are win it every year, go all in every year. I don't see that from Leafs fans as much. We know that Leafs fans personally are just like, okay, we have championship expectations, but we're not going to. I see so many more rational Leafs fans at this point.
I see a lot of irrational Leafs fans.
I see a lot of irrational ones too. But
like I said, and that's not to generalize an entire fan base.
No.
Because of just Twitter. Like every fan base has dumbass fans and every fan base has smart fans. But the generalization is, think about who we're naming. You just named the Bruins, the Rangers, the Blackhawks, Canadiens, Leafs. What do they have in common?
They're all original six.
Yes, absolutely. These original six franchises, plus the Penguins who weren't original six but came in the first expansion.
And they have
5 fucking Stanley Cups.
Exactly.
They're
so much championship.
You're going to get to an original six franchise.
So much championship DNA. Yep.
Yeah, these are the fan bases. There should be no shock at all that hold their franchise to that standard, because
it's funny that we're not seeing that from Red Wings fans are the most chill out of all of that.
And I think that's just because I think that's a Detroit thing.
Yeah.
They've been humbled so much by the Lions, Tigers, and Pistons that it's kind of just it's the vibe of that city, and it's Detroit's got some of the smartest fans that I know.
What a shame! What a shame that the Bears are a Chicago team and not a Detroit team, because then you could have the Lions, the Tigers, and the Bears.
And
another whiff on that. I said I'm trying.
Yeah, I know. That's the issue.
Speaking of the Red Wings, just first of all, congrats to Montgomery. Well-deserved. Good luck.
Good luck. Heavy
absolutely good luck. All the best to him. But the Red Wings made their hire. Eisman chose Derek Lalonde, which doesn't really surprise me, because he's
no, that's no surprise at all. We knew it was the worst kept secret in hockey that he was going to go with the Tampa guy.
I mean, we at least knew that he was going to go with a Tampa assistant.
I like it. I think that it's, he's another guy, only 49 years old.
Oh yeah. And I mean, he coached, if I remember right, he coached the Walleye too. He was a Toledo Walleye coach.
He was. Yep. So he was the head coach of the Walleye before going to Tampa. So yeah, he was hired to Tampa Bay to be an assistant
Right.
staff when Yzerman was still there.
Yep.
So there's a major connection between those two. But seriously, only 49 years old. Last 4 years as assistant coach of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Think about what he's done in the last 4 years.
Was he their defensive? What? I'm trying to remember. I don't know what he coached exactly. Like if he was power play, PK, offense, defense.
Right.
But I mean, to your point,
just think about what he's done in the last 4 years as assistant on that staff.
Right.
Trophy winning team, 62 wins. Stanley Cup champion.
Back to back. Yeah.
Finalist.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable what he's done. He's done an amazing job there. And I'm interested. I think that he's going to do a good job in Detroit. I
hope he does.
Voice to be in that room. So.
I think with the way that the players respond to just Yzerman, I think having a guy that he's known helps a lot.
Okay, so I did make a mistake. So he was the head coach of the Toledo Walleye from 2014 to 2016.
Okay.
His record, 97, 35, 7, and 5. And then after that, he went to he won a championship there, and then he went to become the head coach of the Iowa Wild from 2016 to 2018. 69, 58, 17, and 8 before becoming an assistant with the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Okay. Sorry, the distractions.
Yeah. That's unbelievable though. Like Jesus.
Yeah, that's dude knows how to win.
Yeah.
So hopefully, because I think Detroit's at the point in their rebuild where they need to start coming out of it. They need to start contending, right?
Mm-hmm.
They at the very least need to start contending for a playoff spot.
Yeah.
Which they started to last year. Until, yeah. They were them and Columbus were the only ones that really made it interesting. Until Bruins and Capitals just started pulling away.
Yeah, last season was ridiculous with that.
With the whole East decided by Christmas.
It's interesting. His last name is pronounced Lalonde.
Lalonde?
Yeah.
Okay. I always just said Lalonde because that's what
it looks like.
It's phonetic, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that it's not as much. We know hockey's like a boys' club sport, managerial wise, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's the biggest boys' club in the world.
It is, and I would say the difference here is that Steve Yzerman is one of the best and smartest boys' club leaders in the history of hockey.
That's the funny thing, right? Is we just talked about the Bruins and how theirs is so weirdly dysfunctional.
Mm-hmm.
When you have Cam Neely and Don Sweeney and at the helm there.
Yeah.
It's just strange. And I mean, Jeremy Jacobs as an owner, but that the way that you look at the Bruins and their boys club mentality is far worse than people look at the boys club mentality in Detroit.
Well, it's because Detroit does it well.
Detroit
I struggle to call it a boys club, and the reason that I don't want to call it a boys club with Detroit is because I genuinely believe that Steve Yzerman would have hired another coach that he felt was more fit for the job, even if he didn't have experience with that person. It doesn't give off the vibes of just we're just gonna, chill in here. I'm just gonna grab this guy that I like,
right?
From Tampa, I have experience. The track records always support it. Everything he does is based in logic, and it's always really smart. you look at a lot of the decisions he's made that have worked out both in Tampa and in Detroit. So, like, I struggle to call up a boys club because I genuinely believe that there's another coach available that he thought would be a better fit. He would have hired that person instead.
Yzerman.
I don't think the Bruins would.
Yzerman has done everything for this rebuild the right way. The tear down, the absolute dog years, the, slow build of keeping prospects in the minors until they're ready.
I gotta say, I think
he's hired the right people.
I think the thing that impresses me most about the rebuild in Detroit and the process with Steve Yzerman is how long he kept along Jeff Blashill, because I think he's such a smart guy. He recognizes how slippery it is if you're a team that's rebuilding and if you're not going to be winning a lot of hockey games. You can get into some dangerous situations by continually recycling through coaches. And I think the continuity of Jeff Blashill, despite the fact that he just wasn't the guy in Detroit, I actually think was smart in the grand scheme of things before moving on to a new voice.
The way that they built with him for as long as they did, it's like John Cooper. It's Stevie Y brought in John Cooper, and look at what John Cooper's done in Tampa.
Yeah. So I think this is going to work out in Detroit as they continue to make their team better. They've got so many other interesting prospects who are going to be coming over soon, making an impact. I'm really excited to see what Simon Edvinsson does, especially
you've always been excited about it. Yeah. You've been excited about Edvinsson for such a long time.
He's going to be really, really good. I remember I would have been perfectly okay with Columbus taking him at 5.
I want to see Wallman work out.
Yeah,
Wallman's another kid that's
the faith there. I just don't see him being a long-term player in Detroit.
I mean, only one way to find out.
Yeah.
Right? It's just to watch and see. But yeah, Detroit's doing it all the right way.
Yeah. I like what they're doing.
A team that's probably doing it the wrong way, the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, talk about a team that doesn't know what the fuck they're doing.
So, on one hand, right? On one hand, Bowness coming home, kind of a nice sentimental note because he played there for so long. He coached the original Jets for a while.
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect. I thought he was done coaching. I really did.
Yeah. I at least thought he was done like head coaching.
Yeah, I figured if he was going to return to hockey at all, probably would have been in a front office role. But it doesn't really make much sense to me because first of all, you're hiring a coach knowing damn well that he's not going to be a long-term solution. Even if this hire works out and he brings out the best in the Jets, you're going to get that for 3 years before he's done coaching.
Yeah, Rick Bowness is definitely running out. Yeah, he's running out of time.
First of all, there's no longevity with a hire like this. Second of all, I don't know how this makes you better. Like 2 reasons. One, first of all, you got to try and figure out what you're going to do in the future. Like what is your future? Are you rebuilding? Are you trying to win? Like, what's the deal here?
Yeah, they're caught in the middle of this window. They're literally like just kind of stuck because the way the roster's constructed, the way you've heard guys talk, the Shovel Day Off extension is one thing, right? Then you have Scheifele and Wheeler. What the hell do you do with those guys? Because Scheifele's sounded like he wants out, and we know now that Dubois got a window to want out.
And Wheeler is nowhere near the player he used to be. He doesn't play any fucking defense. Like, you're bringing in a defensive coach. Like, to me,
that's not going to mesh at all.
Extending Shovel Day Off and bringing in a guy like Rick Bowness, to me, tells me the Jets still think they can win. And that's their plan. And I think that is an unbelievable mistake.
I think that with the way Dubois with the way Dubois is panning out, they're going to try. Because, he says obviously they all want to win, right? This is a team of players that's really freaking desperate.
Yeah.
Because they've been close.
And I would like to remind them that they were close in 2018, which was 4 years ago. And next year, the 2022-23 season, that's 5 years. That's a 5-year gap. Mm-hmm. So even if you make the playoffs, the gap between making the playoffs next year and that conference final run you made in 2018, that's a 5-year gap. Think about the players who are not on that team anymore. Patrick Laine's not on that team anymore. Dustin Buffalo's not on that team anymore.
Andrew Kopp's not there.
Yeah, Andrew Kopp's not there.
You gave up and then reacquired Mason Appleton.
Which wasn't even really on that team.
Jacob Trouba's not there anymore.
Yeah, Jacob Trouba's not there. They lost a lot. I don't get it. It doesn't make much sense to me. There's a chance that Paul Stastny's not going to be there next year, which means
Stastny, he
was there in 2018. So
he came and went for a while, but yeah.
Yeah, he came and went for a while. So if you don't bring him back, he's another guy who's not on that team next year who was on that team in 2018. So I don't get it. It doesn't make much sense to me. That's a team that lacks identity. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure that Rick Bowness brings the identity that matches the players you have on your team. Right. So unless your plan is to trade Scheifele, to trade Wheeler,
maybe buy Wheeler out.
And I feel like they're going to go the route of trading him to an Arizona or something like that.
They could. And then knowing that PLD basically is pulling a Claude Giroux saying, I kind of only want to go to Montreal.
I don't know what you do.
So either PLD gets traded to Montreal to go home, or
because Montreal doesn't have shit as far as assets are concerned.
Right. Or you ride the wake, you see what you can try to do with Dubois, and then he hits the market because of his ultimatum.
Yeah. You're in a situation, in my opinion, where you have to trade Pierre-Luc Dubois.
That's the second time he gets traded in 3 years.
Yeah.
Really tough fall for a number 3 pick, eh?
He's a good player.
He is a good player.
I don't know. I don't know if it's so much location. People are like, oh, he's played in Columbus and Winnipeg. As far as I know, Columbus,
he put up plenty of points for us.
Yeah, Columbus is a nice city, and Winnipeg, from what I've heard, is a pretty nice city. It gets a bad rap.
It's just kind of out in the middle of nowhere.
I think it's a situation where he kind of only wants to play for the cream of the crop, because it's not lost on me that he wanted to trade out of Columbus right before the Blue Jackets fell off. And he wants to trade out of Winnipeg right before we can tell that the Jets are going to fall apart.
Yes.
I think that's more so it than anything. I'm trading him to Philly so he can play under Torts again.
I would love that. Honestly, I just want to see that happen again and see a shift 2.0. A shift part 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Bowness move is a real head scratcher to me because, they were heavy pursuits in the Trotz sweepstakes until Trotz came and said he wasn't going to coach this year.
I would say that's not a bonus. That's a penalty.
And we all know how Bowness loves his penalties. See, I won't end the call for this one because
come on, that was actually really good.
that was all right.
Come on, the creativity was unbelievable.
Wordplay. We're gonna take a serious, obviously all the coaching stuff we've had fun with. The bonus one's a little bit more serious because it's like, what are you doing? This is a hard, depressing turn. So there's this Flyers goalie prospect, Fedotov.
Yeah, this is interesting.
It's a very Yeah,
And I mean, interesting in a very, very strange, sad, weird way.
yeah. Okay. He's been detained. Ivan Fedotov has been detained in Russia. Essentially, he's been arrested.
Yes.
For dodging the draft. The military draft, because Fedotov, from what we know, plays for CSKA Moscow, which is essentially the military's hockey team.
Yeah. And it's very obvious he wants to leave so he can go to North America, so he can go to the NHL to play for the Philadelphia Flyers, who super need goaltending on top of Carter Hart.
It's essentially he got arrested for a breach of contract.
Yes, and they're basically just kind of framing, oh, he's dodging the military, whatever.
And I mean, he kind of is, but at the same time, it's like, guys, he's a hockey player.
Yeah.
That
I don't know what happens, moving forward from here.
That's all we know today. There's really nothing else to it right now.
Right, like what can the Flyers do about this?
If you're Chuck Fletcher, if you're Bobby Clark, I don't know what you can do.
Send Ivan Provorov over there to handle it. Beat the shit out of it. Like, I don't know. Like, I genuinely, like, I don't know how you fix this. Like,
yeah, you can't just be like, you can't be Chuck Fletcher and try to call in overseas
be like, hey,
and be like,
can you like let this kid go? And they're gonna be like, no,
no,
Russia,
yet.
Yeah.
They're just gonna go nyet and hang up and spit in your face
through the phone. Yeah, like they're gonna spit so hard that it hits you through the phone.
That makes me worry about a lot of other Russian prospects, though, right? Because we already know. We don't know how difficult it's going to be for Marchenko and Voronkov to come over. Right?
Is Marchenko not already over?
I can't remember. But like for these kids, we already had that conversation previously. Like, how are they going to be able to come over through this conflict that's still going on? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And what's that mean for Russian players in this draft? Are we just not going to see as many Russian players get drafted?
I wouldn't be surprised if that was something that happened.
Or at the very least, are they just going to fall to the later rounds?
A little bit, because this has happened before. We saw Nikita Kucherov fall to the second round in 2011 because of this concern. Does this affect Matvei Michkov's?
Does that affect Michkov in 23?
I don't know.
Right. I don't know.
It's interesting because we've seen like these waves of concerns with Russian players in that sense of concern of them and their ability to come over for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. There's been years where that's not been an issue at all. There's been, periods of time where it was an issue and it affected drafting Russian players as a result. I don't think it's going to be an issue with Kirill Marchenko because he already signed his deal. Mm-hmm. So he's no longer a part of
a Russian organization.
Yes. So I don't think that's going to be an issue at all.
You would hope not.
You definitely would hope not. I don't believe it's going to be an issue because he played.
As long as he can get his visa and be able to, yeah. Right?
So he played for CSKA St. Petersburg.
Kirill, yes.
Yeah. Or SKA, not CS.
I was CSKA and SKA are, yeah.
Two different things. Yeah. I was reading a whole ass letter that wasn't even there. But yeah, I don't think that's going to be an issue with Kirill, but I hope that this gets solved for Fedotov because
I hope it gets solved for Fedotov. I hope it gets solved for Voronkov whenever he's ready to come over.
Yeah, Voronkov's going to take a little bit more time, so we don't have to worry about that for a little bit. But hopefully, that's not an issue when it comes that time.
Yeah, but this is really just like, man, I know it's more of a personal issue because it's all this kid wants to do is come play hockey in North America.
Yeah.
And he's tangled up in the, political mess.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Ukraine conflict right now.
Right.
All because he wanted to leave and come do his job.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all because of the team he plays for. Like right now.
Right.
Who I didn't even realize that CSKA Moscow was like affiliated with the Russian military.
I didn't know that
until now.
I don't really know a ton about the K in general because it's not a league I really follow. But
I only know
I had no idea. Like you mentioned it earlier on this podcast, and I was like, yeah, sure, definitely. Yeah.
The biggest thing for me with the K is just following prospects in our system.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at free agency, right? Because we know of guys like when there's a Shipachyov, when there's a Mikheyev,
mm-hmm.
right? When there's a big name free agent in the K, when Gusev was coming over. When you have those names that are ready to make the jump or going to try to make a return or whatever it is, making the jump to the NHL, I pay attention to those guys because it's like, ooh, where are they gonna go?
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's about as interesting as the free agency here in North America.
Yeah.
Right. Because you don't, unless you pay really close attention to those leagues, to the SHL, to the K, to the DEL, you don't know, unless you look at the stat sheets, how well these guys perform.
Right.
And like, to that point, I don't know how good of a goaltender Fedotov is. Here's hoping that when he does hopefully get to come over, if he doesn't have to serve a sentence of like years and years.
Yeah.
Hopefully he gets to come over and Torts can whip him into shape and
yeah,
right. He can be a good backup to Carter and hopefully maybe even challenge Carter to get him back on his game.
Mm-hmm.
Because having two young goalies like that, where have we seen this before?
Yeah.
We saw it in Washington last year.
Yeah. Saw it in Washington. I'd say that we probably saw it in Columbus in 2012, 2013 with Bobrovsky coming over and Steve Mason.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Mason obviously didn't perform to standard. It was eventually traded, but Bobrovsky won the Vezina.
Yeah.
So I would say that that's another prime example of that.
I just hope this gets resolved and not, I don't know how much, who does this cast like the worst light on, right? Because it's more just a confusing story right now.
I mean, it casts the worst light on Russia.
It does. Because you're literally just holding some guy back from wanting to do his job.
Yeah. Pretty typical of
them. Some better news. And speaking of the Capitals, they promoted video coach Emily Engel-Natzke.
Nice.
So she's full-time video coach for the big league club now. And that means the first female full-time coach in NHL history.
Interesting.
I read something like that the other day when I was taking notes for this.
Determine which puck was barely over the line and help them win games by getting goals called off in this stupid league. Best of luck to her for that. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, it's really fun, and it's again, we've seen it with Castengay, with Dory, with Why did I forget her name again? Cami Granado.
Yep.
I don't know why I keep forgetting her name in particular.
Yeah, you slighting her.
I'm sorry, Cami. Oh my god. Especially because she's, I'm pretty sure she's a medalist too, right?
Great player.
With MPP, with all the women that are coming into organizations and becoming a huge part of the fabric of how they operate.
Mm-hmm.
And then even with the women coming in as officials.
Yep.
We're seeing, they feel like minor strides, but they're a lot bigger than we realize.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And now we get the first full-time coaching staff member. And good on
surprised that they didn't have any like equipment managers or anything like that. Like,
yeah, I haven't heard any.
Consider that a part of the? I don't know. Is that considered a part of coaching? Really, I don't know.
I don't think so.
Probably not, because
I think that's different.
Like, I think it's So I don't know.
Yeah, equipment manager sounds like it's a whole other thing. Because
just like I just figured like full-time member behind the bench. Because you're kind of behind the bench if you're
more or less.
Yeah, more or less, whatever.
But yeah, congrats to Emily there with the Capitals. That's a really awesome gig.
Yeah,
like a video coach. We don't really give much credit to the video coaches, do we?
They deserve a hell of a lot of credit because they have a pretty big impact on the game, especially in this dumbass league.
God. And yet it's like the video coaches don't get enough credit because of the way the officials decide things and the way the war room decides things.
Right.
It's like, it's almost like a court system. It's almost like going from a statewide court to a national court to the Supreme Court, I guess.
Sure.
Does that not, maybe there's a better comparison I could think of, but my brain just, again, I've been burnt out for the last few days. And
yeah.
The clever wordplay has been hard to come by, if you can't already tell this episode. Speaking of Cami Granado's team, though, Brock's staying. Yay!
We think.
But he inked a 3-year extension.
Yeah, 3-year extension, which is nice. You think that would mean that he's staying, but I'm still not sure if this is
like a sign and trade kind of thing. Maybe.
Yeah, we don't know the situation with that.
At least his contract's been handled because
it's pretty steep for him. Not gonna lie.
How much was the money?
So it's essentially a 3-year, $20 million deal.
20 million. Okay.
So that's about 6.67, I think, average annual value.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's fine. Like,
that's it.
He's an RFA. He's a little bit older in the RFA range. Because he's
24, 25, I think.
25, 26, I think. So he's a little older in the RFA range, but he's starting to shape more of what he is. We know what he is for the most part. He's been around in the league for what feels like ages.
Yeah, so he just turned 25 in February. So.
Got it. Okay, so he's practically my age.
I mean, just 23 goals, 23 assists for 46 points in 71 games this past year. 121 career goals, 135 assists for 256 in 324. Yeah, he had some really good seasons early on in his career. He had 55 and 62 in his rookie year.
He's got plenty of scoring touch.
Yeah. This was a real down year for him in terms of his production.
Yeah. We at least because we know what he can do. We know what he's capable of in terms of goal scoring. He's at the very least a 20-25 goal guy. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
so he'll pot you plenty.
Career high in goals was his rookie year with 29.
Oh, wow.
He hasn't touched 30 yet.
He could.
He's got the potential to. The problem is rookie year 62 games. Next year 69. Nice. Next year, 57. Next year, 56. But in his defense, 56 was how many games there were that year. So that was
the full season. Yeah.
And then this past year, 71. So he has struggled to play every game of the season. The only time he did that was the shortened season, after COVID.
Right.
But again, like that's a situation where like, yeah, I want to give him credit for playing every game, but at the same time, like it's only 56. So who knows? Maybe an 82 game season, he gets hurt at some point. It's been an issue for him. So
we more or less know if he stays, who his centers can be. He can play with Pettersson just fine. He can play with Bo just fine. Who knows what's going on with JT Miller?
If he does stay, then that means that they're going to be moving Connor Garland and JT Miller this offseason. I figured it was between Garland and Boeser.
And Boeser, right.
They're not moving both of them. So if they do keep Boeser, that means Garland's going, and I just don't think there's any chance that JT Miller stays. You have an opportunity, like you're not signing this guy long term. You have an opportunity to get so much for this guy. Yeah.
He can fetch a lot of assets where he's at in his career, especially coming off of what he just had. He's been Miller was, like a bat out of hell coming through in Vancouver.
It was the best stretch of his career hockey wise. Like, he had some good years in New York. He had some good years in Tampa, but the best form of JT Miller came with the Vancouver Canucks. No doubt about it.
JT and Brock meshed really well. JT meshed really well with Tyler Toffoli when he was there. But yeah, I think Brock is definitely someone that they need to keep around at the very least for the fans.
Yeah.
He just feels like there's something about Brock Boeser that makes me feel like he's a Vancouver guy.
He is. He's very much a fan favorite. You just think about the hair and
he's got one of the best
connection that he has to the fans and the city. Just with how he is, like, there was nothing more upsetting to see than obviously what he went through at the end of the year, but just how the city of Vancouver rallied around him and the support they gave to him and his family through what he was going through with his father.
Yes.
Was so touching, and it's just another example of how much they love him there. Like I think it makes sense that they keep him long term. But we'll see where it takes him. Because I don't know what their plans are. I do have an idea of what they can do for JT Miller.
Maybe this is just a bridge enough to like see where the cap goes.
Yeah, could be.
Could
be before like extending him long term, like 3 years from now, we're gonna have a better.
Hopefully, the cap will be somewhere maybe around like 90.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Or even like if it's not, like you'll have a clear idea of what it could look like down the line.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't disagree with that, but I do think that there is something they can do with JT Miller that I think would make sense for both sides.
What is that? Is this what you were trying to allude to earlier?
No, I think that they should trade JT Miller for Willie Nylander.
Oh gosh. Because Willie's always been in terms of the core four guys. Right.
First of all, for Toronto, there's a benefit for both sides. One, Toronto saves a little bit of money by doing that in terms of the salary cap for next year. But Vancouver, what they get is an extra year term out of the contract for William Nylander.
Right.
Kyle Dubas, I think, is in a situation where he knows long term. This is it. Like he has 11 months to save his job, so he doesn't care about beyond that. He needs to focus on what he can do this upcoming season to get the best situation to win. And I think JT Miller and what he brings is more so what the Maple Leafs need than what William Nylander brings.
Well, because like the Leafs are in every rumor ever just because they're the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Right? Yeah. And I think that there's another reason I like this. It gives them more flexibility at center. because
Yeah,
there's
it kind of
rumors
does.
that they may want to put John Tavares at center. If you get JT Miller, you could do that.
They may want to put JT on the wing.
You could put JT on the wing with Tavares, or you can put him.
No, I'm saying Tavares to the wing.
Yeah, like I think that you can have it either way. Tavares can be on the wing with Miller at center, or Tavares can be at center with Miller on the wing.
But then, there's more money moves.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to make this more Toronto-centric, but like, what do you do with Kerfoot?
Well, I think you move Kerfoot and Hall to save some money.
Right. Like, is that?
I think that there's
their own move? Like, yeah.
Chance that Hull and Mrazek are going to be on the Leafs next year. There's a very low percentage chance that I think Kerfoot's going to be on the team next year. So if you move those guys and save that money, along with the money you would save by moving Nylander for JT Miller, you have more flexibility because you already know what your top line is. It's Bunting, it's Matthews, it's Marner.
It's Marner, yeah.
You have Miller with Tavares and Kasha.
Ooh, Kasha would be interesting up there.
And then you have,
and we know Kasha works with JT.
Yeah, and then you have so much money for your bottom six. You already know that you got David Kampf down there. You could maybe put in a Nick Robertson, or
Makheyev's probably out.
Well, yeah, Mikheyev will go
because we know that he's from the other day, and I'm sorry, Yams, because we know that he is Jamie's guy. But like, Mikheyev is talking with other teams now.
Yeah, they could trade Mikheyev for like a 5th or 6th round pick to give his rights.
So I hate to turn the knife on you, Yams, but
I think this makes logistic sense, because that would put you in a situation with the money you save. You can maybe re-sign Campbell, or you can go another route. Maybe you can trade for a goalie. Like there's different options, and you can shore up your bottom six. I think that would be the
bottom
best.
Six with like Robertson on the 3rd and like Engvall on your 4th still.
I think you can move Engvall up to your 3rd.
You could.
I liked what I saw from him.
He's pretty good on the 3rd too.
Yeah, you can have Kampf as your 4th line center. I think he fills that role perfectly.
Oh yeah, Kampf is like the perfect shutdown center.
He still obviously got Simmons and Kyle Clifford, who can provide some beef. But you can just if you can get yourself a little bit more depth at the forward position, fix your 3rd line a little bit. I think that makes. I think JT Miller for William Nylander makes too much sense for both sides.
That's a tough pill to swallow because of, what Willie's meant to that team. But at the same time, it's a business, and yeah, we get it.
It's a business, and it's nothing against William Nylander. I just
because Willie's been like the perfect Leaf.
Williams got too much of it's a surplus. They're so damn good offensively.
Too much of a good thing, yeah.
Like they need a little bit. JT will bring. He'll bring the offense too. He'll drive you the offense, but he also could play some defense. He's more physical. He plays. Yeah,
you did mention
playoff style hockey.
You did mention too that like the biggest worries defensive wise, forward wise, are Tavares and Willie.
Mm-hmm. I think it's interesting. I think that's. I don't know if Dubas would be willing to do it, because I know that he loves William Nylander.
Right. Oh, God. And we know Keefe loves Willie, because Keefe had Willie in the Marlies too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's a weird one where you're breaking up such a good relationship. You know? Like sentimentality, like I can see the business end of it. I can't see that happening for the relationship side of things.
JT Miller's expected goals against this last year was 40%, which isn't super high, but like still better than Willie.
You're losing Jesse's guy.
Yeah.
You're losing Jesse's dude. Shout out Jesse Blake. I guess, and I doubt he's going to see this, but like, shout out to Jess anyway. He does amazing work with those guys, and he's not going to lie, he's the best one in the bunch. He's at least the most productive.
Wow.
He's done. I'll say it. Having his own show which needs a better name. And just like the way he was able to.
I don't know. I'm a big Adam Wild guy.
The way he.
Age of Provocateurs clears.
AP is definitely such an interesting kind of show.
Mm-hmm.
But just what Jesse's done, huh?
Adam's History Corner.
What Jesse's done to turn SDPN into what it is, and just making that his full-time gig.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right.
It's pretty dope.
Yeah, it's so cool.
So what do we got next up on the docket?
So next up on the docket. On the docket, there's, first of all, good luck to Brock. Hopefully he does good things.
The Brock.
The Brocklet. Oh, no. That one I would end this call for. I love you, man.
God. We were just on a...
We're on one today. Man.
I think we covered most of it, didn't we?
We covered Brock. The Nick Paul extension.
Ah, yes, the Nick Paul extension. Yeah, so you want to know why I love this extension?
Because the guy finally cashed in.
Well, the guy finally cashed in. This guy's making $0.5 million less than Barclay Goodrow. And he's a way better player. Like, that's the reason they didn't keep Coleman, because they knew he was going to make a fuck ton. They didn't keep Barclay Goodrow because they knew he was going to. Because
he was cashing in big time. Yeah.
But like Nick Paul was like, I kind of love it here. There's no state income tax, so I'm just going to spend a long time. Like, he absolutely took less money than he could have made in terms of yearly salary. A, because no state income tax, but B, because he got because of term. He got 7 years.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't see 7-year contracts very often for a player type of Nick Paul, but because of the price, I love this for Tampa.
Yeah. It's only what, 3.3 average?
3.15, I think.
3.15. That's such good, like, Nick Paul kind of money.
I thought that he was going to leave in free agency and get like 4.5 elsewhere. I thought he was going to get like a 4.5.
He could have gotten like 4.5, 5.
Yeah, he could have. But I think long term, it makes sense to get the term, and also stay with a team that's really fucking good.
And it fits well with what they did with Brandon Hagel.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
The way Hagel's extension got composed, and now the way Paul's is composed.
Like, you got those two, like, those were your two deadline acquisitions that you have guaranteed locked up for the next 2 years, your next 2 cup runs.
They are the new Coleman and Goodrow.
They are. Nick Paul's defense is out of this world. He's physical. He's huge. His offense.
He's got a really underrated shot.
Yeah, this was his best year of his career finishing wise. Expected goals for was 37%, which isn't super high. Shooting was 58%, but it's his defense that he gets, the money for, because he's so damn good in the bottom 6 and it's his big body. He's physical. Like, he just fits perfectly there.
It's nice that Senators fans were also really happy for him too.
I thought it was a good deal on both ends, because Nick Paul, it goes out and has a chance at a cup, and he gets a long-term deal. He gets his money, but the Senators got Matthew Joseph out of that.
They did. Yeah.
That's a good player right there. That's another situation. Tampa Bay smart. Like, Matthew Joseph's a good player, but what's he good at?
He wasn't going to
think that they're already good at. He's good offensively. They already have offense. So they go out and they get a Nick Paul who,
is good defensively. Right.
Yeah. So, like, that's a move that makes sense for both ends that I think is going to work out really, really well long-term for both teams.
Yeah. I definitely want to see what Joseph can do in Ottawa. And like I said, it's nice that Senators fans were happy with the extension that Paul got, because
he wouldn't have gotten that in Ottawa.
Well, they also knew that he deserved it.
Yeah.
So it's Sens fans are some of my favorite fan bases.
Yeah.
To just be like, when they're on top of the world, even for little things, it's so much fun to interact with, right? Because Sens fans just deserve it. They deserve happiness, right? Yeah. And they're finally starting to get it. Brady's coming into his own. Stützle's gonna, grow.
Josh Norris.
Oh my God, Josh
Blake
Norris.
Patterson.
Alex Formenton.
Yeah. Artem Zub, I think, is going to be really good.
Zub is going to be great.
Anderson, Jacob Bernard Docker.
Yep. The defense is going to be a little bit of a log jam.
Anton Forsberg. Look at him.
Anton getting to stay. I love that. That's such a good story with Anton.
TJ Smith, I think, is a good coach. Like, I think they're in good hands. The rebuild's going pretty well. They just need to put it all together at some point.
Dorian's doing fine.
Yeah.
And then now that the stories with the LeBrettondale coming in, and finally being a thing. Hopefully, what Melnick's family does before they sell, if they sell, right? Hopefully they get to see some payoff.
Oh, baby. Breaking news.
1
year, 2-way deal for Carson Meyer.
Attaboy!
Let's go. We broke
OH, baby.
Oh, more breaking news. It's basketball. Darius Garland extension with the Cavs. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, good for Carson. Yeah. Shore up some more. And keep the local product going. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. I love this extension for Nick Paul. It's just like, I literally have nothing else to say other than I love it.
Yep.
Because he deserves
it.
The Sharks fired Bob Boughner, about time.
Yep.
Ish.
Yeah.
And as of now, they don't have any ideas on a replacement. Actually, no. So as far as their general manager search goes, they're looking at a couple of guys.
I think Mike Greer's going to get that job.
Greer's one of them, and he's probably the front runner. Roy Whitney was the other name.
Yeah. I'm interested. Have we had a black general manager in the National Hockey League before?
Is Breemsbaugh not the closest one? Because he's not like full on. He's got enough of a tan to him for me to think he was, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about Breezeball, but no, I don't know if we've had a black general manager before. I think that
would be a good step.
Nice. Yeah, big step for hockey.
Yeah. That'd definitely be a big step, because I know that there was Paul Gerard on Gullitz's staff years ago when all the Peter stuff was going around. Jesse talked about Paul Gerard, right? And how he was the first and only black coach behind a bench.
Yes. 2020, Brett Peterson became the first black assistant general manager in the National Hockey League.
So we've had an AGM. Okay.
So we've had an AGM. That would be really cool if we could get that for Mike Greer, because Mike Greer he was a good player. Smart guy. I think he'd fit, because one of the things that they wanted a former Shark behind.
That's the weird thing to me. That's what struck a chord with me, was the fact that they said that a former Shark is basically crucial in their decision.
I think for them, it's been such a struggle the last couple of years, and
they've been in such a weird mess.
Doug Wilson. I think that they want someone the fans can connect to.
They have.
I think Mike Greer would be pretty good at it. Ray Whitney would be too, but I think Mike Greer fits that mold of what they're looking for a little bit more.
With everything that's going on with the team defense and the hurdle extension, and then Doug having to step down, and now losing Boughner.
I'm not sure I consider that a loss, but
I mean, well, like not a loss, but like with getting rid of Boughner, it's like this team has literally no direction.
Yeah, because the contracts on their team really restrict them from being able to rebuild.
And we know that they're going to have guys like Eklund and hopefully Bordelot coming in next year, right?
Yeah, I mean, Eklund will be coming back. Bordelot played a little bit towards the end. Those two will be a part of their future. They're still holding out hope, I think, for Ryan Merkley.
The Merkleys. There's Knizhov. Is he gone? Or is he still there? He's still there. Okay.
But he's kind of like a lower end, like maybe third pair defenseman kind of guy. But
I do love me some Knizhov though. He's what a name that is, right?
Yeah.
But like
their prospect pool is pretty damn bare. It's not, they don't have like a lot of guys that really.
No, Weisblatt's the only one that really jumps out.
And he
was a 31st pick.
Yeah, his production doesn't really translate well to make him an intriguing prospect. Like he could be an NHL player, but there's nothing that stands out about him that makes you think like, oh, this is going to be a big piece moving forward.
Right. Eklund's the closest one you got.
Eklund's, yeah, I think he's a slam dunk. I think he's going to be amazing. But
then you also just think about how old this team is, man. Even without Marleau and Thornton.
Yeah.
You still have Burns. Carlson's, he's not old, but he's very aged in his game.
You got to try and find a way, even.
And then Vlasic and Logan Couture is getting up there because Logan Couture was drafted in 2007, dude.
Yeah, Logan Couture's, he's not getting any younger. Hurdle's not getting any younger, and they just extended him.
Timo Meier.
Timo Meier is going into a contract year, so I think it's a very, very high possibility that they just trade him for assets to kind of kickstart the rebuild. But you got to try and find a way, even if it's for a very, very small return, to get rid of Brent Burns, because that'll free up some money.
Yes.
And at some point, you got to hope to God someone has any interest in Erik Karlsson, but I just struggle to think.
I don't know.
$500,000 cap hit.
I don't know it's really the contract with EK that's the scare, because we have always known that he's had, the eye test to be an attractive player on the ice, not just a good looking dude, not just an attractive looking dude, but an attractive hockey player.
Yeah. So William Eklund, projected chance of becoming full-time NHLer, 96%. That ranks 9th out of all prospects who've already been drafted. 61% chance of becoming a star, which ranks 7th.
That's not too bad.
That's incredible. Like that's because you're taking into account any player who's been drafted like the last 3 years.
That's totally fair. What was Coles again? Because I remember you sent me Coles.
Coles is like super freaking high. So Cole Sillinger. 74% chance of becoming a star, which is higher than William Eklund. 99% chance of full-time NHLer, also higher than Eklund. Real quick, I haven't looked at this yet. What's Cole Caulfield at? 62% chance of becoming a star, 94% chance of becoming a full-time NHLer. But you mentioned Ozzy
Weisblatt. Yeah.
His is 2% chance of becoming a star, 8% chance of becoming full-time NHLer.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, he's a 31st pick. He was the first 31st pick that was a first rounder, wasn't he?
No.
No,
because 31st became a pick in 2017.
Oh, right. I can't remember who that was then.
First 32nd overall pick was Logan Allen. He was the first ever 32nd pick.
Right.
And Nolan Allen, has a 0% chance of becoming a star, 7% chance of becoming a full-time NHL.
Oh,
so that's what the Blackhawks get for parading all those women around them, being like, we care about people.
And then before that was the disaster of Marc Bergevin.
Marc Bergevin, who only has a 3% chance of becoming a star, so that's good. Fucking
good. Yeah. Anyway, so Boughner getting fired. we don't know what they're going to do because they still need to find a GM.
I think it makes perfect sense for them to go in the direction of bringing in Greer and then hiring Andrew Brunette.
Brunette would be an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like Andrew Brunette, like I've said before, he didn't get a chance to develop his own system. He mainly just piggybacked off of what Quenneville had in Florida.
Yep. So fun thing about Mike Greer, over 1,000 games played in his NHL career. He was a 9th round pick. Who selected him?
Greer? Oh shit, I can't tell you.
The Blues.
Full circle, eh?
It always comes back to the Blues.
We're gonna wrap up with some underrated guys. How's that sound?
Sounds good to me.
I only have 2 left on my list. And I'm gonna go with this time as you try to figure yours out.
Okay.
I was gonna say if you have a guy, then I'm just gonna try to pull mine up. So if you got a guy, go ahead.
Nope.
No, still don't. Okay. So then mine is the name, like he's a name that everybody recognizes. He just never gets enough credit to what he does.
Who is it?
Jacob Slavin.
I disagree.
Yeah?
I feel like Jacob Slavin is very much in the Devon Taves category of very, very underrated defenseman from a couple years ago who people keep throwing in these he's underrated lists. But because people keep doing that, we've now appreciated him.
I feel like
I don't think he's underrated anymore. I think he's properly rated at this point.
Well, he definitely, like, in terms of, because we look at Cale Makar, we look at Roman Josi, we look at Victor Hedman, we look at a few of the others that finished ahead of him this year. This season felt like, because we know that what Jake Slavin can do, right? We know who he is. He's, by the standards of statistics alone, he had an underrated season. This season, he played in 79 out of 82 games. He put up only 4 goals, which, I mean, he's a defensive defenseman, right?
Mm-hmm.
He had 38 assists for 42 points. He was a plus 35.
Yes. Bring back plus minus.
And this playoff, he put up 2 goals, 6 assists, 8 points, was a +6 in 14 games. So we know he can put up the points when he wants to. The biggest part of his game is being a shutdown defenseman.
Right.
And he's one of the best top pairing shutdown defensemen. Right?
Yeah.
So basically, just by the numbers that were put up by defensemen this year, I think Slavin deserves an underrated slot.
All right.
For 2022. Which I'm looking at this roster still, and it baffles me that they're picking Tony D over Ethan Bear.
Why?
I don't know why, but it's just, I feel like they should have given Bear more of a shot.
It's production.
I know it's more production. I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I still would have liked to see Ethan Bear stay. If he, he could still, right? Because he's an RFA.
For the right price, he could. But yeah, that becomes interesting. I don't know where he's going to go. I feel like he's probably going to sign a decent deal and get a decent amount of money with a team that really needs some help on the back end.
Mm-hmm.
Like San Jose.
Yeah.
I'm
Bear,
going to
Bear becomes a shark.
I'm going to go with a guy who I've been unbelievably critical of the last 2 years because of how terrible he's been, who randomly just became unbelievable this last year. So I'm going to give you a couple different stats from previous years, okay? All right.
Okay. All right.
So 2 years ago, in 65 games, 5 goals, 26 assists for 31 points. And then the year after that, in 56 games, 4 goals, 17 assists for 21 points. Okay.
You said 5 and 25.
So 5 and 26.
5 and 26.
4 and 17.
And 4 and 17. All
so
right.
31 and 65, 21 and 56. So that first year, even strength offense at 40%, even strength defense at 10. The next year, even strength offense at 20%, and even strength defense at 1.
Ooh. So underlying numbers not great.
And then this past year, 12 goals, 25 assists for 37 points in 79 games. He went in the last 3 years, WAR percentage, 15% to 0%.
Right.
To 89% this year. With
oh my God.
Yeah, 88 even strength offense, 71 even strength defense. I'm going to give underrated. He went from basically almost trash.
Basically just
super underrated, finally living up to expectations. I'm going to give a lot of credit where credit is due to Josh Morrissey.
Hey.
Yeah.
That's another one of those guys that we should have mentioned on the Jets earlier when we were talking about Bowness.
Yep. Josh Morrissey had the best season of his career by far this past year. He finally lived up to expectations, so I'm going to give him credit. Nobody really shouted him out for it because the Jets weren't a very good team this year. They missed the playoffs. But it's not lost on me how much he improved.
I've always liked Josh Morrissey, though.
I loved him a lot as a prospect. I was kind of stunned when I watched him for the first couple of years. I was like, damn, this guy just wasn't who I thought he was. And then this year, he was exactly who I was hoping he would be.
Wasn't he the one that a couple of years ago, he was the one that shot the puck that went off of Austin's foot in during a Leafs Jets game.
I don't remember it.
It was like, yeah. He just fired it towards the net. Austin tried to deflect it with his skate and it went off his blade. He kicked his leg up and backwards and it went off his foot and in.
Damn.
It's like poor Austin. Good shot from Morrissey though. He ping ponged that one just fine. Yeah, those are, you went with 2 defensemen today. That's kind of fun. Matching positions today. So in terms of the schedule, other than the preseason schedule, we're gonna do this show's going up same day, unlike yesterday, and I'm sorry. But you get back-to-back podcasts, which is nice. Good for
yeah, and then we're gonna have another one on Tuesday, which is going to be entirely just draft.
Yes, Tuesday is going to be the draft preview.
So any news that happens between now and Tuesday will not be discussed on Tuesday. It will be discussed on next Saturday, which will be our post-draft recap plus news. And then from then on until we get into training camps and stuff, we're probably going to go down to 1 show a week. Yep, that you'll get on the weekends. So
yep.
Perfect. All right. Time for me to do my typical business. Hope y'all have a great day.
Time for my typical business, and we will see y'all on Tuesday.
Jake Jackets, a podcast for fifth liners and all puckheads around. Follow the guys on Twitter at Snake Gehringer, GARRINGER, and at by J Ashdown. And subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen. March on.